Right. Having said that, now the next thing is probably the most difficult subject to cover is Paticca Samuppada. How difficult? The Venerable Ananda, who was actually the most intelligent follower after Buddha, Sariputta, and then Ananda. Why? Because he had an incredible memory. He was able to grasp whatever it was the Buddha taught, and he was the one who was responsible after the Buddha died of reciting all the verses that the Buddha had uttered over 45 years. And we are grateful to him because of that. Now somebody that intelligent once listened to an explanation of the Paticca Samuppada by the Buddha himself. And then after that, he told the Buddha, oh, your Paticca Samuppada kacang saja, boleh faham. And the Buddha said, don't ever say that it is easy to understand. He warned him, and that's a warning for us also. It's very easy to enumerate. There are 12 points there. You just tell 1, that's the easy part. But the understanding, the Buddha said, the Paticca Samuppada is profound. And it can only be understood by after a long period of working at it. Alright? And so, I'm saying this partly as a sort of insurance policy, because I don't think at the end of this talk, any one of you, including me, will become arahants. Okay? There's no danger of that. Also, to tell you that it is so difficult that some of you might find it off-putting. Okay? And so let's see whether we can find. Those of you who, I'm warning you, I intend to sleep, better start sleeping now. It will be a waste of time otherwise. Okay? So all this I've already covered a lot. Now, Paticca Samuppada. Let's begin by asking, what is Paticca Samuppada? Okay? No problem trying to get this to know.
Oh, you just press the space button.
Ayala. Which one?
Space button.
The long one at the bottom, the crest.
Okay. I also want to share with you that Paticca Samuppada is the most unique part of the teaching of the Buddha. The 5 precepts, for example, every religion has it. Right? Every religion. And the Buddha spent 6 years studying all the possible philosophical systems. India at that time was in a fantastic high level of spiritual development. Alright? Even higher than the Greeks. The Greeks were very high. But the Indians were even higher than that. They had all the world system, religious systems we have today were already there in India. Whether there is a God, whether there is no God, whether there is creation, whether there is no creation, whether there is forgiveness of sin, all of this was already there. The Buddha studied all of this is the point. The Buddha spent 6 years studying all these different 62 different types of religions, and then he rejected them all. He rejected them all on the basis of Paticca Samuppada. So even today, only Buddhism teaches this. 5 precepts, all of this, every religion teaches. But this Paticca Samuppada is what makes Buddhism different. What makes the Buddha's teaching unique and different from. You should know as a Buddhist that you are part of this unique tradition. And you owe it to the Buddha to try and understand what this is. That's your final goal. If you don't understand it in full at the beginning, don't worry. Nobody did. Nobody, including, as I told you, Venerable Ananda. But you should not let go. Buddhism is not simply, bye-bye. Buddhism is not simply praying, offering flowers. Very important. All this is very important, but it's only a lead up to this. And what is it? Again, go back to story. One, the Buddha had been enlightened, and when the Buddha had given his first sermon, he benefited, the first sermon directly benefited 5 ascetics. These were the ascetics who were with him, who left him, and when the Buddha went and taught them for the first time, they understood and they accepted it. Then the Buddha told them to go and preach the Dhamma. Now from having discovered it, we come to the next stage, the conversion of the 5, and then from the 5 on to 60, and then when all these were converted, the Buddha said, it's time for you to go and spread the Dhamma. Excellent in the middle, beginning, excellent in the middle, excellent in the end. You go and teach. And while he was doing that, there were 2 young men, Sariputta and Moggallana, these 2 were also like the Buddha, looking for the correct answer. And they went to all these teachings and they were not satisfied. Alright? Then they decided, the 2 of them, we will split. You go one way, I go one way, looking for the answer, looking for the truth. Whoever finds it first will inform the other. So they go along, and the young man who was supposed to become Sariputta is going along, and he meets a monk. He meets a monk and asks the monk in Indian style, who is your teacher? If he was a Chinese, he would have said, what have you eaten? But he meets who is your teacher? What does your teacher teach? And this monk, he is one of those 5 whom the Buddha had just converted. And he was already an Arahant. And then he said, I am just new to this teaching of the Buddha. This Asaji is so humble. I'm so new to this teaching, but all that I understood as an Arahant is imassin sati idam hoti. Imasmin nasati idam nahoti. When there is this, let me repeat, when there is this, this is. When there is not this, this is not. When there is this, this is. Then there is not this, this is not. Okay? Now, when this is not, neither is that. With the cessation of this is the cessation of that. This is so profound, because Asaji is telling the future Sariputta the essence of Buddhism. The essence of Buddhism. And what is the essence of Buddhism as opposed to every other religion that is created by God or created by accident or whatever exists? Throw away. And coming down to this. But behind this, what was the Buddha's intention of preaching Buddhism? What was he going around creating converts, charging people to teach? Alright? What the Buddha was concerned about was what every human being, all 8 billion of us today, and all the billions from the day one, we all have one problem. The Buddha identified that one problem. We are suffering. Then he Then he defines what suffering is and all that. Lah. What is dukkha, what is right? What is suffering? That is your problem. That is your only problem. Your problem is not the budget yesterday. Okay, that has created a lot of suffering. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, suffering is the human concern. Doesn't matter what religion, what race, what. As long as you are a human being, you are subject to suffering. And every single thing that we do in this universe, every single time we breathe, we are asking ourselves, how do I escape the suffering and find happiness? Whatever happiness means. Most of us mistake happiness for pleasure. Happy birthday to you is a good example. Okay, it's that. So the Buddha's only concern from the day he was enlightened to the day he died was only concerned with one thing, and that's what we should concern ourselves with also. How to be happy. What is the secret of happiness? True happiness. All right? First we must understand what happiness is, and then how to attain that. Now, while we are thinking of how to gain that happiness, we must also worry about how does this happiness come about? It can only, when this is, that is. Alright? Without this, that is. When this is, suffering exists. When this is not, happiness comes. Translated. So basically it's as simple as that. That is why poor Ananda said, senang aja. You know, when this is, that is not, this is not. But now comes the difficult part. To actually sit down, explain, and not simply understand, but to become. These lines must not just be understood intellectually. That is why I began by telling you, at the end of this talk, it's very unlikely that you become Sariputta. But at least you will know what it is you are looking for. What are you going towards? Alright? You are putting up a new building. Alright? Is the purpose of that building, yeah, to put a Bodhi leaf there? No. The purpose of the building is to explain, to give the chance for more people to understand what is suffering, how can that suffering be avoided. And that is the Paticca Samuppāda. Okay, that's the introduction to that. When there imasmin sati, idam hoti. Imasmin nasati, idam nohoti. When this is, that is. When this is not, that is. This is how you end nirujjanti. Nirujjanti means to stop suffering. Okay? Right. You told me to press the space bar. Yes. What I already told you must have frightened you enough to make you think maybe I might prefer to go to a church and pray. I will get saved. Here I come. You see? Okay. Even that has a thing. I go to the church to pray. Why? To be saved. Yeah? To save the self. To save the self. All religions except Buddhism will teach you the way to save the self. Buddhism is different. Buddhism will teach you to save from the self. You all want to save the self, but the self is the one that's causing all the trouble. So now get rid of the self. Again, we are unique. That uniqueness you must know what you are a part of. When we call myself a Buddhist, what does this? What makes me a Buddhist and not something else? Here it is. Not to save the self, but to save from the self. Once you understand that there is no self, you have escaped from the self, it must mean sati, idam, nasati. Okay? When there is this, there is not that. When there is belief in a self, there is suffering. Remove the belief in the self, your suffering ends. Okay? And that is so profound, so difficult to understand, so difficult to grasp. Okay? The Buddha's greatness, again, his ability, that is why we call him the greatest teacher on earth. Yeah? His ability to get that thing that is so profound, to be able to reduce it to a point at which every human being, every manusya, which has a mind to think, that's the definition of manusya, mano usya, that which has a mind to think. Alright? Now, everybody can accept the way that profound teaching is reduced to just 4 words. This boggles my mind. How great the Buddha's did. The Buddha knew, it is said, 84 more than 84,000 units of instruction. 84 Dhammas. 84,000 Dhammas. Yeah? But he reduced it to 4 words. Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, Magga. Go back again to what we were saying earlier. There is suffering. There is suffering. Is anybody with his eyes open can see every moment. Even when we are happy, we are already planting the seed of happiness. Okay? So happiness is suffering is the human condition. There is remember, again, Buddhism is different from any other religion because the Buddha does not say you must suffer. You are not suffering on this world as a result of punishment by God or testing by God. Suffering is buy one, free one. You are born, you suffer. Okay? So, there is suffering. Very different. Because when I see there is suffering, I don't make it my suffering. It's there. It's there. I cut myself. Remember the self? I cut myself because there is no self to do the suffering. But it is there. Okay? So there is suffering. But it doesn't stop there by saying, if he said, like a lot of people accuse Buddhism of being a pessimistic religion. Yeah? If the Buddha said, there is suffering, go enjoy your suffering, then it is pessimistic. But the Buddha simply says, look guys, this is your problem. I'm just telling you what your problem is. Dukkha, suffering. Now, this, that he defines what suffering is. Then he said, this suffering has a cause. Because of this, there is this. What is the because? Yeah? There is suffering. This suffering has a cause, has a beginning. And this cause is there is a cause. This suffering is, I forgot the word. There is suffering. Because there is a self, there is craving. Because there is a self, there is craving. Remember I said, escape from the self, escape from the self, your first enemy. In fact, your only enemy is your craving. It is because you want things that you suffer. So, he identifies it. Of all the things that can cause suffering, this one thing is the primary cause. Everything boils down to this. And that craving is caused by the self. That's why I said escape from the self. Who is your enemy? Not your neighbor. Your enemy is yourself. And why? Because yourself gives you an I. And I gives you a my. My suffering, my this, my that. It is because of the attachment, the clinging, the grasping, the making things into mine, that is the cause of your suffering. Now, easy to speak, easy to tell, but to understand, when your neighbor's cat, now mostly it's cat, comes and poos in your garden, it's very difficult to talk about self. First thing you want to do is kill the cat. Okay? Then you have this to remind you, no, that's wrong. Okay? Alright, then come back. There is suffering, the cause of suffering. And then what you have there, this is the negative part. The negative part is there is suffering. If we stop there, we are pessimistic. But the Buddha says, hi guys, there is suffering, but I have good news to tell you. This suffering can be ended. It must mean sati idam poti. Because of this craving can be ended. It is not something that you have no control over. For the first time, the Buddha teaches that you have the control. It is not something you surrender to God. You see? That it is you have to understand that you can get rid of this self and only you can do it. No praying will help you. Okay? Prayer all that. There's a lot of good things about it, but we are talking of the ultimate teaching of the Buddha. Alright? Now, so 4 noble truths, yeah? Suffering, cause of suffering. The suffering can be ended. Not only that, this is how you do it. And very simple. How do you do it? Only 3 things you need to do. Not 8, 3. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Control your behavior. Control your actions. Sila. When your body is under control, then and only then, again, many religions don't emphasize this, only Buddhism emphasizes this. What? There is suffering, the cause of suffering, yeah? And this suffering can be ended, and be ended by 3 things. Sila, virtue. Most religions will stop there. But Buddha says, no, not enough. Sila is only step 1. The next step after that, which Buddhists emphasize, is the mind must be controlled. You not only have the Sila, but you must control your mind, your Samadhi. That is the one where we retreat, we emphasize meditation, we emphasize everything, because it is the understanding that must come before the practice. So pure devotion is good, but not enough. Devotion will take you to heaven. Heaven will get you stuck there for R&R for 80 million years. We don't want. So when your friends ask you, do you want to go to heaven? I'm a Buddhist, I don't want to go to heaven. Let them worry about it. Okay? If they want to find out more, come to Charlie Chia's talk next week. Okay? Right. Where are we now? Noble Eightfold Path, Paticca Samuppāda, very profound. Yeah? A lot of teaching of the Buddha. The Buddha was able to reduce that to the 4 noble truths. Now, Paticca Samuppāda is a cycle. How suffering is created. 12 links which you are coming to now. There are 12 links in which the suffering is created. Alright? The suffering is created. It must mean sati, idam hoti. It must mean nasati, idam nahoti. Now, how do you create suffering by going forward. Anuloma. The wheel goes forward. On the other hand, you want to end your suffering, the wheel must reverse. Go stand balik. Anuloma, patiloma. Creation of suffering, end of suffering. Okay? Idam sati, imasmin sati, idam hoti. Because of this, so the Paticca Samuppāda is actually the Four Noble Truths. But the Four Noble Truths is for practical purposes, simpler to work on. Alright, the way to do it. But it leads to, it is based on Paticca Samuppāda. And Paticca Samuppāda, as I told you, is the only the Buddhists have it. And it is common to Theravada, Mahayana, Vijaya. All three completely accept the Paticca Samuppāda. Okay? Alright, now suffering, the end of suffering, how to transform. Can you see a red light? I can't see a red light. Okay. Right, there you see, this is how to create suffering. See that? And this is how to end the suffering. This is the wheel of life. In this wheel of life, we create karma. And when, now comes a new word, ignorance. When there is avidya, when there is ignorance, when we don't understand, when before the time of the Buddha there was nobody to come up with this idea or this understanding. Because of that, and even today, because we don't understand, all our suffering is created. Because we don't understand, we act. How do we act? In three ways. How do we act in three ways is Kayena, Vacha, Chittena. Kayena means by the body. We act with the body, Kaya. Vacha, by speech and by thought. Action, speech and thought, we act. And when we act, how is that action created? It is created by intention. The mind must work to say, I want to do this. I want to eat this banana. Or I want to. So that intention, if it is guided by ignorance, there is a self, I exist, then your actions are all selfish. I becomes mine. Mine means this. And when I am grasping like this at everything, this thing is also changing. Because this thing is also changing, what I am grasping, the moment I get it, I don't want it. Therefore, I'm never satisfied. When I'm not satisfied, suffering. You see? So you have the wheel going round, and how do you, your action, your ignorant mind creates action, intention. Intention creates action. And this action is manifested in three ways: body, speech, mind. If you, now, that is going forward, creating trouble. Okay? Now reverse that. Reverse that. Change your ignorance to wisdom. Listen to the way the Buddha teaches the Dharma. Coincidentally, the word Dharma means how the universe operates. Dharma just means how the universe operates. Dhar means to hold up. What holds up the universe? What are the principles on which this universe operates? Nothing to do with a God working in this. This is so. We were born into this universe which was created 15 billion years ago. Right? Don't ask where, don't ask how, don't ask why. Only ask, I am here now, how do I get out? Paticca Samuppāda. I understand this and I want to get out of this. Okay? So far, what we have done, here is the suffering. How does the suffering create? Yeah. This, when I do good actions with wisdom, I go up and I create good karma and I reduce the way in which suffering arises. I reduce. On the other hand, when I work with ignorance, create a self, do selfish actions that benefit me, supposed to benefit me, but do not, I create suffering. I am always, dukkha, another good word is frustrated. None of you is suffering at the moment. But at the moment, each one of you wants to run out of this room.
Suffering.
But cannot suffering.
Listening.
Listening is suffering. Fighting the sleeping is suffering. What the hell is he trying to say? Going round and round. All that is suffering. Why? Because there is a self. Who asked you to be born? If you were not born, you won't be here. It's as simple as that. But if you understand that truth and work towards the destruction of a self, which is what Paticca Samuppāda is all about. Okay? And I'm trying to emphasize the uniqueness of the teaching of the Buddha. Okay? Right. Then, right. How do I go back? So down to go back. Okay. Paticca Samuppāda has so profound, very difficult to translate. And so the common one that we use is dependent origination. But dependent origination means something originates because it depends on something else. Paticca Samuppāda. But when you say this, you see there's a time difference. Between there is a cause and there is an effect, there is a time difference. Paticca Samuppāda does not refer to time. Very profound thought. Alright? So maybe it's better to say when this is at the same time. When there is a mug of coffee here, the coffee was made by the coming together of so many elements. Now this is coffee. You cannot take the sugar out anymore. It's there already. There is no time lapse in this gulp of coffee. Our existence also has no time lapse. Okay? And so we say, maybe it's better to say this and this exists. You switch on, good example. Switch off the light, darkness comes. Switch on the light, light comes. And it happens simultaneously. There is no time lag. Very important to understand that. In Buddhism, really there is no concept of future. Yeah? There is no concept of past also. There is only a present. Your single life, every single life of yours have been living on this planet Earth for this long, not that long. Every moment of living is made up of three parts. Upada, Titti, Banga. Upada, Titti, Banga. Arise, change, die. Arise, change, die. You have lived in that way millions of lives. It's not you were born, you went to school, you grew up, you got married, you died. No. Every single moment, every nanosecond, you have been doing this. So you have experts at dying. You have died all the time. It's the last stop breathing without the Titi. Without the change, then even the change is there. You take another form. You become a deva or whatever, and you go on. So upadi titi banga. So dependent origination depends on your understanding that what you call a self is actually not there. And when you create that self in your ignorance, you create the conditions of suffering. The answer the Buddha gives us is remove the condition. And that condition has to be removed by removing your misconception of an I. That's the ignorance part. Okay? So, ignorance, wisdom. So, what your job today, starting now, is transformation. Transformation is the process where you apply yourself to remove the ignorance and replace it with the wisdom. It's very, very difficult, but it is the only way. And where can it be done? Not in the body. It can only be done in the mind. So you see that all Buddhist practice, all the meditation you go around, all the Dhamma talks, all of this is mind-oriented. We are the only religion that emphasizes so much on mind. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear so. When you go to all those temples where all the candles are burned, joss sticks are burned, when you see that, you feel Buddhism is just like any other religion. But if you move away from there and you get this, then you find all of this is not necessary. I've got a lot of friends now, very successful businessmen, millionaires, who don't see any meaning in this anymore. And then they're using their money, of course, to reduce the physical suffering. But their focus is gone. Their focus is no longer more money, but focus is more understanding. It's already happening. And this is the reason you put up this building. That people have the opportunity to come in there, see a single Buddha image, alright, and say, okay, we focus on that. Don't get confused by too many images, too many whatever. Okay. That's why I like Banda Utama, the center. Have you been to the Banda Utama? I love that circular temple with the single Buddha image, the two colors, brown and beige. Okay? Right, anyway. And then condition co-production. It is conditioned, yes, because this affects that condition. Co-product at the same time. This has to be. I don't understand it in the way that Sariputta understood it. I only understand it in the way Ananda understood it. You see? But I'm telling you that is the goal. The goal is where you don't see past or future. Yeah? For convenience, we have. The Buddha taught about past and future because he taught at two levels. He taught at the level of the Samuppāda Satya, the conventional truth of an I, as opposed to the other level of teaching, the Lokottara level. By the way, how much time do I have? Buddha had 45 years, by the way.
We have about latest 12.
Oh, too much. Okay, right. Okay. So you got that? The reason why there are so many different translations, each translation emphasizes the fact that it happens all at the same time. You cannot split it into different sequential. Our civilization, our modern way of thinking, our Western way of thinking breaks it up into sequence. Our Buddha doesn't see those sequences. He sees all at the same time. Okay? So it's called condition. Now, what I just said leads up to a great, I don't know what word to use it, a great misunderstanding of Buddhism. The teaching is so profound that it led to a serious misunderstanding, which only modern thinkers, modern Buddhist thinkers have come up with. Up to now, if you read Venerable Narada's Buddha and his teaching, he represents the traditional thinking, the traditional Theravada thinking of Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand. They are all affected by a 5th century, that means 1,000 years after the Buddha. There was a great thinker called Buddha Ghosa, Sri Lanka. No, he was an Indian who lived in Sri Lanka. Yeah? And he interpreted the Buddha's teaching and explained whatever. Yeah? And one of the things he did was, he talks of Paticca Samuppāda in terms of 3 lives: a past, a present, and a future. Alright? And says that Paticca Samuppāda spans 3 lifetimes. Okay? Existence is created every moment. Remember this? Upadi, Titi, Banga. Yeah? And rapidly changing process involving countless moments. This is so fast that our mind cannot slow down to grasp it. Meditation helps you to give that slowing down, to see through breathing, yeah, how an existence is created. An existence is created every single thought moment. Now, what is a thought moment? That's already very slow. Already. Some people explain it like this. This one thought moment is like saying one flash of lightning. Take a flash of lightning in the sky, divide it into 17,000 parts. A thought moment is faster than that. That today we have quantum physics to explain that even better. In quantum physics, we have a thing called a moment. A moment, yeah? That moment is 1 trillion of a trillion of a trillion of a second. What is it? How fast it? That modern science has given us this better than the 17,000. But if it is that fast, how can there be a past, a present, and a future? Yes. Only worry about the present. Okay? Existence is created every. So I told you, your experts are dying. Dying is not a big problem. That's a problem because we don't see it. Okay? It's not linear. That means it is not past, present, future. It is not deterministic. There is no God working on it. It's not done by outside force. No Mara, no nothing. It's your ignorant mind. So your biggest enemy is your ignorant mind. Your best friend is your wise mind. Okay? Right. Have you lost me, or am I just talking to you? Okay? Is it following? Is it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
alright. So to explain, existence is created every moment. Is it created every moment? Yeah, it is clear. Or is it so fast that there is no reality in time? So that's why in Buddhism, when we pray, we say the Dhamma is akalika. Akalika does not mean without time. It means transcending time. It goes beyond time. So we suffer partly because we think of an I that was born, that grew up, that went through all of this, and then will go on forever and ever. This thing, when you destroy that, when we destroy that mindset, then you become an arahant. Then you stop thinking in terms of past, present, and future. Alright? And where is your enemy there? Ignorance. The wrong teaching, the wrong training, the wrong everything. Not just in other religions, but everyday life we are conditioned to think like that. Okay? Alright. Now we come to an explanation of what Paticca Samuppāda is. And we have already talked at length about ignorance. The cause of all of this is ignorance. The cure for all of this is wisdom. Therefore, you must embark on a transformation. Right understanding, right thought, right intention. When you have the right understanding through Dhamma talks and so on, through theoretical explanations, the teaching of the Dhamma and so on, when you have that understanding, you say, okay, I've been going in this direction, creating trouble for myself throughout samsara. Now I've been told there's another way, I am going to go the opposite direction, the way of wisdom. And the way of wisdom starts with me destroying my ego. There is no more I. The moment I kill that I, then I'm on the way. Now the difficult part is killing the ego. So that's homework for you. Alright? So what do you do? So when they ask you to come for retreats, they ask you to come for, this is what they are helping you to do. To understand there is no I. There is no ego. There is nothing to die. There is nothing to born. It's all in the mind. Okay? Alright. Not seeing ignorance is now we're going to explain. Now, Paticca Samuppāda, for explanation purpose, remember I told you the Buddha's teaching had two levels, the Lokiya, the Lokottara. Lokiya level for you and me, lay people, we can't understand all the things that I've been trying to explain. Alright? It's difficult. So what the Buddha in his wisdom knew, I can't teach that high level to ordinary people. What we call Puttujana. You and I are Puttujanas. Alright? So he explains to us that, okay, assume you have an eye. How can you kill your eye? To kill your eye, you must have an eye. So you must create that eye, work with, use your eye to kill your eye. That's homework. Go back and work that one out. Okay? Use your, because that's all that you have. So the Buddha accepted that. He said, okay, the lay person cannot see that there is no eye. Okay, we use it. Use it. So right understanding, okay, ends with right understanding. Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding, okay lah, I know what the Buddha is saying and what Uncle Vijaya is messing it up even more. Okay, I know that. Okay, I accept that I will now stop thinking of an eye and start working towards the destruction of the eye. And using this eye, I go through right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right mindfulness, right concentration, and then all of this leads me back to right understanding. Right understanding leads to perfect understanding. So at the moment, you are working with right understanding, knowing that's not the goal. The goal is working with right understanding to reach perfect understanding. When you have perfect understanding, you are a Buddha. You are a Arahant. you don't see yourself. Perfect understanding, there is no self. So nothing is to be felt or seen. Yeah. So avidya is not seeing things as they really are. Not seeing things as they really are. The best explanation for this is a book explains this. You're walking in the jungle, in the desert, and it's very, very hot. You have lost your water bottle, and you are thirsty, and you are getting mad. As you're walking in the distance, you see a mirage. You see a pool of water. We see that all the time when we drive on the road. There, when the road is very hot, you see water. Okay? Now, is there water? Is there something? Yeah, there is a mirage. But we call the mirage and we run after the mirage and say, where's the water, where's the water, where's the water? The more you chase, the more tired you get, but you're nowhere near getting anywhere towards ending your thirst. Alright? So you are suffering because you're running after something, but that something is really nothing. It's created by the mind. But the moment the transformation takes place and your ignorance is translated to, oh, this is a mirage. This is supposed to be water, but I know it is not water. Okay? Now many times we ask, explain I, explain me. Alright? Now you can ask that question of a professor and tell the professor, explain me, and the professor will probably break you down and explain all of this. But if you ask an Arahant, explain me, the Arahant says, what the hell are you talking about? You see, if you don't see a mirage, and there is no mirage there, you are not thirsty, therefore you don't have that illusion created of you, then you are free. Then you are free. But to come to that point, that's the difficult one. Do good, avoid evil, no problem. Every religion teaches you that. Purify the mind. Transform avidya into Vijaya. Not Vijaya, Vijaya. Okay? Not seeing things as they really are. This is I thought, a very good explanation of not seeing things as they really are. The illusion, the mirage of water, which is not there. It's there, that's why we can't blame me for running after it. It's there in my deluded mind. But in my sharp, released mind, I shouldn't see it. So I shouldn't see an I where there is an I. So don't blame me also lah. You know? You get that? Nothing. Thoughts of I, when you have I, you have mind. That's the problem. If you have I and stop there, then there is no problem. Can you stop personalizing? Can that I, that ego, okay? It is your self, I creates a self, self creates selfish. We are selfish. And what does the selfish do? Grasps. What does the grasping do? Creates craving. Alright? And why is that so? Because of the the I. Yeah? Because of the water. Because of the mirage. Right? Destroy the mirage, you are free. That is nirvana. Nirvana is the destruction of the mirage. Nothing happens. When we see Buddha image on Vesak Day, especially Las Vegas lights are all coming out, alright? And we have Mayana music. Oh. Nothing. What happened in the Buddha's mind was a mental transformation. After that, he remained a Buddha, handsome Indian man, 6 feet tall, walking around, he had to eat, he had to bathe, he had to rest, he had headache. All of that was still there. Only thing is, the difference was, he did not say, I am suffering. I am enjoying this. There is suffering. There is enjoyment. There is pain. Towards the end of his life, he had to stop 25 times because of cheret beret. He had dysentery. Buddha, yeah, having this thing. Now the difference was, while there was suffering, he did not suffer with the suffering, because there was no I to do the suffering. There is suffering. It was painful, very difficult. He was even bad-tempered. There was a time when somebody came and asked, he said, "What do you want? Some more I want to teach. 45 years I taught you not enough." He sort of, and then look at this body. This is tired body, held together with leather, like a car. He's talking about himself. Which part of him? It was this worldly part. Once he attained nirvana, he did not suffer with the suffering, even in those circumstances, because he was already gained enlightenment, because he already had no more avidya, but vidya, because he knew that, he said, there is suffering. I have to go through it. I have to go through it. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Okay? So that gives you the patience. That's why Buddhists suffer differently. Yeah? Thoughts of I, taking the not beautiful for the beautiful. The not beautiful, taking this body, what a beautiful body. You know? I'm talking about me 50 years ago, 70, maybe previous lifetime. But is it really a beautiful body? I'd love to tell this to all the film stars that make me jealous. Alright? What is that body? A bag made of skin, full of blood, spit, mucus, pus, flesh. Do you want? Very proud of it? Look at your inside. No, this is not to say that you're being negative. No? Negative, but to see it for what it is. So this body which I am so proud of, if I take time off, I won't be so proud of my body. I will see it for what it is, and see it for the pain it can, the potential pain it can cause, which should lead me to the right understanding, which will make me reverse the situation to destroy the I. The moment I destroy the I, okay, to go back, the first of the links that creates an I, the first of the links that creates the I, we have already explained, is avidya. Avidya gives rise to mental formations. It is the I that leads you to think of a body with so many beautiful sources of enjoyment. You can enjoy through the nose, to the eyes, and because of that, you start thinking of things. Sankara, avidya sankara. The mind can go in three directions. It can go towards meritorious things. It can go towards demeritorious things. All the mind, sankara. Alright? Because of my ignorance, I go in different directions. Alright? And neutral. Organizing our thinking process. Sankara. Organizing our thinking process in accordance with accumulated habits. The habit of an I like coffee, and if I don't get the coffee, I get upset. Yeah? The coffee is cold, whatever, I like. I don't like, yeah, people telling me what to do. And when that happens, I get upset. So all of this, where is it created? In the mind. It can be pleasant, can be unpleasant, and a lot of the time I'm sitting down here, it's neither pleasant nor unpleasant, neutral. A lot of the time, we can go through life experiencing neutral feelings, but these neutral feelings, if you have trained your mind. Otherwise, the tendency is to go this way or that way. So, you might, caused by ignorance. It's because I don't understand, because I think there is an I, then I does the thinking, sankhara, and takes the mind in different directions. Okay? Takes the mind. Another good example, what do I care whether Kamala Harris wins or Trump wins? Nothing to me. But what do I care if Najib comes back as Prime Minister? Where's the difference? Where did the I and the my and the personal, see, where was it created? In the mind. In the mind. Sankharas. Watch your sankharas. Where do you do that? Get trained in meditation class. Okay? But point out to you how these arise, how it can go. Alright? Okay. Any action can only be created by intention. So I have this negative feelings, positive feelings. I can either choose to go towards the negative or I can choose to go towards the positive. I can choose. I have the power to do that. Or I can remain neutral. Okay? Now, how does that happen? Happens in the mind, vijnana. Vijnana means avijja, sankhara, vijnana. Vijnana is thoughts, consciousness. I'm aware of this. A stone is not aware. These glasses not aware of anything. It is not aware of the fact that it is reading glass. It's not aware. But I am aware. What is the difference between this and this? I have consciousness, vijnana. Avijja, sankhara, vijnana, mental formations gives rise to consciousness of internal and external. At the moment I'm talking to you, fully aware that there are external reasons. I'll be crazy if I gave the same talk to an empty hall. Okay? But at the same time, I'm quite aware that there may be bodies here, but the hall can still be empty. No one is listening. Okay? Quite aware of that. But never mind, I'll talk anyway because it's recorded. You see? Oh, okay. All right. All right. So, name gives rise to vijnana. Mental gives rise to consciousness of internal and external objects. Awareness of sensations, which give rise which arise through the sense doors. How does consciousness arise? 3 ways. I have an I, that's the object. Yeah. I have an I object, this young guy here. Yeah. All right. And awareness that I am looking at him. Consciousness. All right. And so these 3 give rise to consciousness. If I was blind, he's not there. At the moment, my wife doesn't exist because I don't see her. She's not there. Now it arose. Suddenly, my wife arose and I woke up. You see how consciousness works? Yeah. Internal, external. The contact. This is the Buddha's explanation. Yeah. The contact between object. The eye, the sense. Eye, nose, ear, whatever, the connection between, while my eye is meeting the object to create an consciousness, yeah, beyond is not in the picture. Now beyond comes into the picture. And I ask, hey, why you look like me? Talking about hair. Okay, one conscious. But you see all of these negative thoughts unnecessary thoughts came up. Vijnana. So what do? See but don't look. Hear but don't listen. Don't be a kepo. You see? That's how you come. You understand? Alright, now that this thing has been created in the mind, yeah, you give it a form, which we call Nama and Rupa. Consciousness gives rise to all forms of materiality, yeah, as well as all movements of mind regarding intention and perception. This thing has no intention. I have intention. Alright? Because of I have intention, my 5 senses become active. Therefore, I have created a person, a nama and a rupa, a physical and a mental. All created by me. All created by me. So far, no God has created me. I have created an awareness of a Vijaya that exists. Alright? Consciousness gives rise to all forms as well as all movements of mind regarding intentions and perception. What I see, how do I react? Yeah? How do I react? How do I react is my mind working. Okay? Right. So, that once you have the sense of an I, a Vijaya, Vijaya has eyes, Vijaya has nose, Vijaya has ears, mouth, hands to touch, and mind. And when all these come together, I use this to create the world around me. To create the world around me. If that world is created through ignorance, yeah, I hate you, I like you, I find you a good looking, whatever, how do I react in that way? Or if with wisdom I see, this is a mirage. When I see this is a mirage, and I see myself as a mirage, I lose sense of Nama and Rupa. Right? When these 5 senses come into being, what we talked about earlier, my passa, my contact comes into being. When my contact comes into being, when sense doors, we establish inner and outer bell, ringing, hearing. That's the object, this is the ear, the two come together, I hear. All this while, you are not conscious of the sound of the echo. Now all of you became conscious when I pointed it out. You see how it comes about. So there are things that you should leave untouched. Okay? Alright. There is contact. Vedana. When there is contact, same thing. When there, now this is starting to irritate me. You see, feeling. Just now there was nothing. Suddenly I'm saying, hey, getting a bit too cold. Alright? Feeling. That this young man is getting all kinds of feeling, uncomfortable, sitting there too long, listening to a boring talk, yeah? And all of these feelings arise. What we are trying to analyze is how the feeling arose. The feeling arose as a result of ignorance. Avidya, Sankara, Vijnana, Nama Rupa, Salayatana, Passa, and then when there is contact, there is feeling. At the moment there is no contact, so no feeling regarding beyond. Okay, no feeling. If I turn and then something happens, then it happens. Okay? So, Vedana. Craving of having and getting something, craving to 3 types of craving. Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. All that, this is a cause of suffering. This is the kipu in us. Alright, and we are all the time, because we allowed this contact, yeah, we allowed the feelings to arise. Because we do not control our sankara. If we control our sankara, we'll say, look, why are you wasting our time with this aircon? Or cut it off. We don't. We allow the aircon because we don't have the training to control our sankharas. And because of that, we can't control our contact. Because we can't control our contact, we can't control our feelings. 3 types of feelings. Pleasant feeling, which we want to follow, but we can't follow, because nobody is going to switch on the aircon for my benefit. So I got to at least suffer with it. So that gives me frustration. On the other hand, feeling pleasant, unpleasant feelings, and neutral feelings. Okay? If I can keep everything at neutral, I am lucky. To do which I must have training. I must control my thoughts. And I must learn how to control my thoughts. I must identify how my thoughts arise. This can be taught through meditation. Okay? Alright. Craving becomes something. 3 types of craving. Of having and eating. Craving to have, to grasp whatever you want. Craving to run away. Lord, I have a headache. I don't want this headache. I want to run a craving to run away from the headache. You got that? A lot of negative things which we don't like, we're trying to run away, and it follows you anyway. That's where the suffering is. On the other hand, if we learn whether it's this or that, but to remain neutral, then you have peace of mind. You don't have to wait to die to be happy. You can be happy here and now. And that's the secret of Paticca Samuppāda. Okay? Right? If it is craving, it's okay. Okay? What happens is you got this now, the cold feeling. The cold feeling was very pleasant for some time. It went on too long. Now that pleasant feeling has become an unpleasant feeling, waiting for it to go away. Alright? So I want something, I'm craving for something, craving for not wanting. That is vipower. I don't want to experience the cold. I don't want. Craving for that. And that creates frustration. Creates frustration because you have no control. Okay? And then craving is prolonged and intense, it becomes clinging. And this is the kind of greed that we all go through. If a lot of the time we just a plate of kway teow. At about 11:30, I don't mind a plate of kway teow. But if I don't have it, it's okay. Let it pass. That kind of ability to let go. Renunciation. Okay? Attachment. When it's too hard, the attachment, you don't want to let go. That's all the bribery cases we are hearing about. Leaving $1 million in somebody's house. I wish I was a neighbor. But that clinging. And the harder, the more you cling, the harder to let go. The less you cling, the less there is an I doing the clinging, the freer you are. So one of our key words would be renunciation. Key word would be letting go. Little by little. Don't try to do it all at once. It leads to frustration. Okay? Alright. Sense of becoming fixed, clinging, a sense of I. This is me. I am this kind of person. I have this kind of power. I have this kind of control. I am a husband. I make all the decisions, etc., etc. So clinging to this, inability to let go, to views. I am a Buddhist. Everybody else is going to hell. Okay? This is a view. Beliefs, rules. Clinging to rules. You can do this, you cannot do that. We get a lot of this in temples. In the kitchen you cannot talk too loud, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot wash. Women must do this, women must not do that. All these control factors that we put into place. Alright? And then clinging to an I. That's the hardest part. Even with the Buddha, the last thing that went before he became a Buddha was I. Don't think it was easy. It took him millions of lifetimes to destroy the I. So if we are not, don't lose hope. That's another thing about Buddhism. Never lose hope. Always be like the doll that falls but always comes up. Okay. And becoming. So when all these thoughts come, when these feelings translate into pleasant, unpleasant, whatever, yeah, I like this, I don't like that, I this, I that, I am this, I am this, I am this. Yeah? When all of these become fixed, it becomes bhava. Bhava means to become. So all what we have been examining is, how was this elusive I created? How was it created? We found out it's all created here. And the processes, how fast does it take place? How fast does it happen? 1/1,000,000,000 of a second. That's why it's so difficult to catch it. That's why meditation slows the process down. And when meditation closes, you get okay. Then when you take it out of meditation postures, then you are more in control of the world around you. Okay? Jati, the moment of arrival. I remember a long time ago I talked to you about Buddha Gosa. I talked to you about how there's 3 lifetimes and 1 lifetime. Alright? The 3 lifetimes, that is the traditional interpretation of Paticca Samuppāda, is your past life controls this life and this life controls your next life. If that is so, then there is a soul that goes from here to here to here. But the Buddha is very, very clear in his teaching. Nothing goes from this life to the next life. Only a process continues. Alright? Here is a candle that is lit. Here is a new candle. When you put the flame from that candle to this candle, no flame goes from here to here. No entity goes from here to here. This is changing. It's all changing. There is no one entity to go. If that is so, how can there be a past, present and future? So the new way of looking at dependent origination is it happens in that one split second. That makes it so much more profound. There is no room for a soul to be involved. Right? At the same time, when you understand that, it becomes very easy to destroy the soul. It becomes easier to destroy it. There's nothing to go. Okay? Right? And then of course, the moment Upada, Titi, Banga. A rising, a changing, and a falling. When a rise, change, and fall is one lifetime. Everything that's born must die. Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, the 3 characteristics of Buddhism. Anicca, everything is impermanent. Nothing but, including the universe, is not permanent, it's changing. Anicca. Because it is changing, it is suffering. We want things to not change. We want things to be. I would love to have my hair back. But it's gone. It went 20, 40 years ago. Right? Okay. So, anicca, dukkha, anatta. There is no I. There is no self. These 3 factors of existence, if you can grasp, you have grasped dependent origination. Okay? Okay. Avidya, Sankara, Vijnana, Nama Rupa, Salayatana, Phassa. Phassa, Vedana. Vedana, Upadana. Vedana, Upadana. Upadana, craving. Upadana, tanha. Now, tanha, upadana, bhava. Bhava, jati. Jati, jara, mara. So the whole Paticca Samuppāda is tied up to that one split second. And it's almost impossible to present it in a linear way. When Ananda understood in a linear way and said it is simple, the Buddha cautioned him, no. It's the most complex thing. If you can get it, then you are free. Otherwise, you're welcome for the next talk. Sorry, I'm sorry I went on too long. Should have stopped. Sorry.